the final thing I saw, which I actually saw today because it came out today, Friday, as we sit here and record this, is a movie called The Phantom of the Open. Now, do you guys know anything about this?
I have seen one poster for it. And let's just say, if you're about to tell me that the film was good, the poster does it absolutely no favors whatsoever. But I did in the back of my head think, Jack will see that.
You're right. So it's the best thing about this movie, right, is that much like the subject of the first movie that Jim Broadbent plays, Mark Rylance plays Maurice Flitcroft, who is genuinely one of the most fun stories I think in sports that I just had absolutely no awareness of. So this guy who worked on a shipyard in Barrow-in-Furness, which is sort of one of the most cut off kind of bleak parts of the UK, I would say. Sorry if anybody in Barrow is listening to this, but I think you would kind of agree with that. He just gets one day like the stars in his eyes. He spent his whole life supporting his family, and he's like, I want to follow my dreams now. And his dream is that he wants to be a professional golfer. And the problem is that he's 46 and he works in a shipyard in Barrow and he has no money and he's fucking terrible at golf. So when all those things kind of add up together, it doesn't really give him a great platform to kind of go off. But because the British Open, as the Americans refer to it, or as the Open Championship, as most people could correctly refer to it, is what it says it is open. It is possible for me or Dave or Mark to be really good at golf, go through a few qualifying rounds and actually qualify for the tournament, right? Unfortunately, for Maurice, he's not allowed to join any clubs or have anything to do. So what he does is he just lies on his application form and says he's a professional golfer. And this was the 70s. So the woman looked at it and she was like, oh, wow, I mean, if he says he's a professional, he must be a professional. So this guy who had never actually played a full round of golf at a golf club because no golf clubs would accept him because he had no money and was unable to apply for any, his first ever full round of golf on a golf course was the first round of the 1976 Open Championship, which is just like, really? It actually happened. Now, guys, I don't know how much you know about golf, but usually, go on, Dave, are you going to say something?
Ball in the hole, keep the score low.
Right, that's exactly, keep the score low, right? So 18 holes, you usually have a par of around anywhere from sort of 70 to 72 shots. His round, he shot 121 shots in his one round and finished comprehensively 50 strokes over par. And as you could imagine, was immediately kicked out of the tournament and was pretty much barred from entering any other professional tournament after that. But that didn't stop him. That didn't stop him at all. He carried on entering tournaments under different names. So he styled himself as a Frenchman called Gérard Hoppe, and entered into the
surely
Open
you'd have to prove some verification you are who you are.
Nope.
What?
This is it. You can enter into the Open qualifying.
We Mark, grew up in the era where distrust has only grown. You gotta remember that, before our time, an awful lot was taken on good faith.
Pretty much, yeah. They just accepted it, and it's a genuinely true story. And he tried to enter into British Open qualifying under 4 or 5 different names. There was one that was Count von something that I've already forgotten, Count von Hammerberg or something like that, and that flashed up at the end of the movie that cracked me up. But he was kind of struggling in life a few years after all this stuff happened. He kind of lost his job at the shipyard and it was a bit rough. But in his honor, a bunch of people in America, in Michigan, named a golf tournament after him because so taken were they over in America with this story of this guy who's absolutely shocking, who managed to con his way into the Open. And they invited him over to honor a decade later, and he did loads of interviews and stuff on TV in America. So you just get this really sweet moment at the end of the movie where he's being celebrated by all of these people in America that he's never met and had no real connection to. But Mark Rylance sells the whole thing brilliantly. He's a guy who, whenever I see his name in the cast of a movie, I immediately know that it's going to be a good film. And at very least, the moments that he's in it are going to be really good because he just completely disappears into characters. Sally Hawkins, absolutely fantastic. She plays his wife. She's like the real linchpin of the movie. She's fucking incredible. Like a really
just
good
an
actress.
Unbelievable actress, yeah.
Just so good, so good. She got her flowers a few years ago in Shape of Water, obviously. You know,
love that movie.
Just an incredible film, and how can you not love her in Paddington as well? She's completely adorable and continues that level of brilliance here. And I've now seen 2 movies in the last sort of 3 or 4 months where Rhys Ifans plays a moustache twiddly villain, essentially. And in this, he plays like the head of the RNA, the Royal and Ancient, which is the company that runs all of golf in Europe. And he plays a Scottish guy called Lambert, who is absolutely furious at Mark Rylance and basically starts following him around, trying to catch him out under all of these things. Like the fake moustache of when he enters the Open at Gerard Hoppy is fantastic. And unfortunately Rhys Ifans sees through it as well, but he's also very good. And I said the first film was heartwarming. This is heartwarminger, to use a word that isn't a word. It's just a brilliant story, and again it kind of celebrates Britishness in a way that I don't know if anybody in this country really celebrates success the way they celebrate failure with a smile. So for instance, like, you know, the parable of Eddie the Eagle, who was just a guy who wanted to be a ski jumper, and it was absolutely shocking, but managed to qualify for the Olympics, came in last place, and they made a movie about him, and he's a bit of a legend over here. You know, instead of us celebrating like sporting excellence or, you know, anybody from this country that has actually achieved things that didn't, you know, have a horrible shady link to some sort of colonialistic past, we just love a person that sets themselves up for just a big old failure but does it with a smile on their face. I think we'd rather we failed with style than we ever won anything. It's like a weird sub part of our culture and our humor that kind of revolves around it, and this movie just hits that spot absolutely perfectly. And if you wanted to distill Britishness into a movie, and not the ugly parts of Britishness but the parts that put a smile on your face, I think this is the perfect example of that. And I thoroughly recommend for anyone that has any interest in, just if you love a sports movie, which I really fucking love a sports movie, then this is really good. But it is much more of a human tale than it is anything to do with golf, because I know not a lot of people's tastes are going to be centered around golf. But yeah, Phantom the Open, hard recommend for all 3 of those movies, but that one in particular got me today. So yeah.